Hello everyone. Welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wishing you all an enjoyable listening experience. Today, I'll be decoding Power Negotiating for Salespeople for you. I will share with you the essence of the book. Learning to maintain an advantage in negotiations is the key to sales success. In the 21st century, with a wide variety of products available, sales no longer focus on the sales process but rather on the negotiation process. In the past, limited communication of information created an advantage for salespeople. They could use information asymmetry to confuse customers and achieve sales by providing favorable product information to the customer. However, today, customers can not only find basic information online but also compare multiple sources of information to choose the best products. So, in today's world, how to persuade customers to make a purchase, or in other words, how to enhance the negotiation skills of salespeople, has become more crucial than the sales process itself. The book I'm discussing today teaches us how to sell products and negotiate for a good price. This book is a classic by the American negotiation master, Roger Dawson, and has been a bestseller in the field of marketing for 10 years, often referred to as the Sales Bible. This book not only teaches salespeople how to sell products but also summarizes the secrets to selling products at a high price through numerous case studies and the author's own experiences. The author believes that modern marketing is not about sales but about negotiation. The principles of sales negotiation involve a thorough understanding of the rules of the game. Contrary to what most people might expect, sales negotiation is not the exclusive domain of negotiation geniuses, it is a game with underlying rules. As long as we learn these rules and use reasonable response strategies during the negotiation process, we can be unbeatable. The success depends on the negotiation strategies implemented at the beginning, middle, and end of the negotiation. The author of this book, Roger Dawson, is a renowned American negotiation master who has served as a presidential advisor, president of a real estate company, and the founder of the American Power Negotiation Association. He devoted his life to the study of negotiation and his books have been translated into nearly 40 languages, selling worldwide. He advocates that marketing is about gaining an advantage in negotiations and gaining the full recognition of customers, leading to a win-win outcome. Former President Clinton once praised him, saying, "He is the most talented partner I have ever worked with, wise, clever, and energetic." So, that's the basic overview of this book and the author. Now, I will delve into the key content of the book. The first key point is to increase the perceived value of the product at the beginning of the negotiation and make the customer feel they are getting a substantial discount. The second key point is to maintain control during the middle of the negotiation and try to avoid creating adversarial emotions in the customer. The third key point is to use pressure and concession strategies at the end of the negotiation to make the customer commit. Alright, let's begin with the first key point. The opening of a negotiation should focus on elevating the product's value and making the customer feel they are getting a significant advantage. The goal of sales negotiation is to create a sense of getting a good deal for the customer. Everyone has a desire to gain an advantage, but the public generally believes that nothing is unbreakable. Therefore, sales negotiation is more like a game of negotiation between both buyer and seller. The most desirable outcome, of course, is a win-win situation where both parties feel they haven't lost. However, in practical sales, this is virtually impossible. So, from the perspective of the seller, the goal of negotiation is to make the customer feel that they got a good deal in the end. Even after the sales process is complete, the customer should continue to trust us. Therefore, it's not just about selling the product, it's also about maintaining a good relationship with the customer. This is the key to a successful sales negotiation. In the opening of a negotiation, we should guide the other party in the direction we expect. The first step is to play the role of a reluctant seller, using a previously win approach to stimulate the customer's desire to purchase. Regardless of how strong the buyer's desire to purchase appears at the beginning of the negotiation, the seller must remain composed and emphasize the advantages of the product in their language while subtly conveying a reluctance to sell. At the same time, provide the buyer with an opportunity to make an offer. For example, you might say, "This house is really fantastic, great lighting, a well-designed layout, and houses with these many advantages are rare. So, without a suitable price, we really don't want to sell. Our management is quite fond of it and is considering raising the price. However, if you're interested, what price can you offer?" At this point, the customer will unconsciously have a higher appreciation for the house, and their perceived price range will naturally rise. The price they suggest will likely be on the higher end of what they can afford. Therefore, this reluctant buyer and seller approach can effectively raise the product's value from the very beginning and minimize the room for price negotiation. The second step in guiding is to set objectives, which involves determining the other party's bottom line. You must make the other party state their terms first, so you can understand their standards and calculate the starting price based on their bottom line. In other words, when quoting, be bold and don't be afraid to offer a price much higher than the other party's expectations. Don't worry about the other party's mockery or their complete rejection. However, it's essential to let the other party know that there is room for negotiation at this high price to avoid scaring them away with an exorbitant starting offer. Why should you start with a high price? In general perception, low prices are thought to attract customers, but in reality, the opposite is true. As we mentioned earlier, everyone has the desire to gain an advantage. If you reveal your bottom line right away, the other party won't believe you, as there's a common belief that everything is negotiable. Customers tend to negotiate, and there's no room for negotiation if you lay all your cards on the table up front. The other party might think you lack sincerity. Negotiations may fail, and the deal might never happen. Starting with a high price can also have the advantage of making a successful sale when you encounter customers who are not inclined to haggle or genuinely appreciate the product. In this case, the profit can be substantial. Additionally, customers often perceive the concept of, you get what you pay for, so a high price, even though it seems outrageous, can unintentionally elevate the product's perceived value. This leads to greater customer attachment to the product, and when the final deal is struck, the customer will feel a great sense of accomplishment. They will not only have paid for the product but will also believe that they have truly obtained a valuable deal. The second step in guiding is never to accept the other party's initial offer or counteroffer. When a customer reveals their psychological price at the beginning, accepting it immediately is not in your best interest. If you do, the customer will not feel as good as you might think. They'll likely think, this was too easy, can the price go even lower? This can often lead to negotiation failure because the customer doesn't feel like they got a good deal, instead, they feel like they lost. So, the right response in this situation is to say you need to consult with your superiors because the price the customer initially suggests is usually relatively low. If the customer knows that you are not the ultimate decision maker from the outset but still needs to negotiate with you, their focus will be on how to convince you. This can create a sense of pressure on the customer, leading them to raise their perceived price. So, how do you make the customer negotiate with you when they know you're not the ultimate decision maker? Here's a useful technique: be vague about your superiors. When telling the customer that you need to consult with your superiors, don't specify whether they're a project manager, project director, or marketing department head. The customer might directly request to speak to a specific individual if you're too specific. You can say it's the group leader, the board of directors, or high-level company executives. The key is not to focus on someone they can easily reach. So, when you're a customer, if the other party tells you they need to consult their superiors, it's often just a tactic to keep negotiations going. In such cases, you should stick to your bottom line and not easily give in. Alright, those are the key points I wanted to cover for you. In the opening of a negotiation, take control by pretending to be a reluctant seller, highlight the product's advantages, and let the customer make the initial offer to explore their bottom line. When starting negotiations, do not accept the customer's first offer, and make sure to leave room for negotiation. This will help customers feel like they are getting a good deal. Certainly. Let's move on to the second key point. In the middle of a negotiation, it's crucial to maintain control and try to avoid triggering confrontational emotions in the customer. When negotiations reach the halfway point, the goal is to ensure that the negotiation is moving in a direction favorable to us. At this stage, the customer's objectives are usually clear, either seeking a win-win outcome or trying to gain more advantages. Customers may begin to nitpick and raise concerns about the product or business. What we should avoid at this point is immediate denial, as it conveys a sense of opposition. Engaging in a confrontational approach will likely make the customer more determined to strengthen their position, seeking additional evidence to support their viewpoint. The correct approach at this stage is to initially express agreement and then present your counterarguments. For example, you can say, "I completely understand your concerns, and many other customers have had similar questions. However, we have made significant improvements in this area, and our operational system is now very refined. This gentle approach significantly reduces the customer's confrontational emotions, helps to dispel their doubts without antagonizing them, and facilitates smoother negotiations. As negotiations progress into the middle phase, the quoted prices from both sides tend to get closer. After a round of bargaining, it's common to use a compromise price to further narrow the negotiation space. However, it's essential not to propose a compromise voluntarily. Instead, guide the customer to propose the compromise themselves. This approach is also aimed at satisfying the customer's desire to gain an advantage. If the seller suggests the compromise price, the customer may still feel that they are at a disadvantage. For instance, if the seller's price is $84,000, and the customer is willing to pay only $80,000, the compromise price of $82,000 should be proposed by the customer. This way, the customer feels like they've gained $2,000. Now, what if the customer raises some principled issues, such as stating that their budget allows them to buy a house at $5,000 per square meter, but the seller's property starts at $5,500 per square meter? In such situations, conventional real estate developers might either believe the customer cannot afford the property or contemplate lowering the price. However, the author advises a different approach. The first thing to do is to confirm the validity of the customer's principled issue. To do this, showcase the property's outstanding advantages and candidly state that the price may be slightly higher. You can say, "Our community is located in the city center, just a 15-minute walk from your child's school. The community also features a swimming pool and a gym. However, the price is $500 per square meter higher than your budget. Do you think this is feasible?" If the customer is willing to raise their budget, it breaks the principled issue, and negotiation can continue. So, when faced with a condition that seems unacceptable, the first step is to assess the genuineness of the condition and then proceed with the negotiation. This approach often increases the chances of success. When dealing with service-based products, it's important to establish the price up front. Unlike some tangible products that continuously appreciate, the value of services can rapidly depreciate. Customers may feel extremely grateful while receiving a service, but their appreciation fades quickly after the service ends. They might even question the high cost of the service. Therefore, for service fees, the author suggests setting the price before the service and, if unforeseen circumstances arise during the service, openly explain the situation and increase the fee accordingly. After the service concludes, actively request payment. This significantly reduces the chances of customers objecting. Lastly, it's crucial to remember that for any additional conditions or extra requests raised by the customer, you should also ask for corresponding returns. Don't assume that providing unconditional assistance or constant concessions is a given. In reality, if you continuously give without asking for something in return, the customer is likely to push their demands even further. So, in summary, the second key point is to maintain strong control in the middle of negotiations. When customers raise questions or concerns, use the approach of first agreeing and then countering to ease their doubts. As prices in the negotiation approach a compromise, make sure the customer suggests the compromise price to help them feel they've gained an advantage. When customers present principled issues, assess the validity and continue the negotiation if they are open to raising their budget. For service-based products, establish the price beforehand, and if necessary, increase the fee during the service while actively requesting payment afterward. Always remember to ask for returns in exchange for any additional conditions or extra requests from the customer to avoid them taking advantage. Next, we'll discuss the final key point, closing the negotiation with pressure and concession strategies to get the customer's commitment. In the concluding phase of negotiations, when we have undoubtedly maintained absolute control throughout the negotiation, it's time to make sure the customer commits. At this stage, it's essential to exercise patience, apply pressure to prompt the customer to make a decision, and then satisfy the customer to win their psychological buy-in, ultimately closing the deal. One effective approach to apply pressure is to use the good cop, bad cop strategy. In simple terms, it involves creating a vague superior image while playing the bad cop with the customer while we play the good cop. This approach neither makes the customer resentful nor fails to achieve the negotiation objectives. For example, after a round of bargaining, if the customer is only willing to pay $500,000, and considering the cost, they like a property with a minimum price of $550,000, we can ask the customer to wait momentarily. Pretend to consult an ambiguous higher authority. After a brief pause, return to the customer for further negotiation and say something like, "I understand your request very well, but our superiors believe that accepting less than $550,000 is not possible." At this point, most customers will express frustration since nobody likes rejection. Now, it's time to find suitable reasons to explain to the customer. Inform them that the management considers cost implications, and the company wouldn't make any profit below this price. Emphasize the exceptional qualities of the property and mention that the price is at its maximum concession. Using the vague image of a superior while playing the bad cop, the customer will not direct their anger towards us but may, in fact, feel pressured to make a decision. It's crucial to apply these techniques tactfully. Avoid direct confrontation or being too rigid, as this could lead to the negotiation's failure. After applying pressure, it's also essential to learn how to make concessions. Bargaining is almost a universal customer habit because it makes them feel like they've secured an advantage. Therefore, understanding how to allow customers to bargain successfully while safeguarding our profits is crucial. Begin by determining the maximum you are willing to concede, for example, $1,000. When quoting the lowest price, add the $1,000 first. Then, you can start the concession process. The whole process involves starting with significant price reductions, gradually decreasing the discount as you approach the final stages. This way, the customer feels like there is no more room for negotiation, and your willingness to accommodate them is evident. For example, you can initially lower the price by $500, then another $300, and finally $200. By the end, customers generally won't push for more significant reductions. They will subconsciously understand that there is no more room to move, making them feel like they have genuinely received the best deal possible. However, sometimes you may encounter customers who persistently seek additional concessions. At this point, what they're looking for isn't necessarily a substantial discount but the satisfaction of getting their way. Negotiations are like a game, and only when customers feel like they've gained that last bit of advantage will they truly feel like they've won. This is often a sign that the deal is about to close. In such cases, as a seller who has already made the maximum concession, you may feel a bit challenged. The author suggests that you can meet the customer's request indirectly without compromising more profit. Instead, offer to exchange conditions. For example, if the customer insists on a final $100 reduction, explain that due to cost constraints, you can't reduce the price further. However, you can include 3 months of warranty service, direct supervision by the management for the product assembly process, or home delivery as part of the service package. These conditions may seem minor but can naturally satisfy the customer's desire for a better deal, leaving them feeling content. In summary, the philosophy of concessions is to make customers feel that the negotiation space is gradually shrinking and becoming more challenging. When customers persist, use subtle techniques like exchanging conditions to smoothly conclude the negotiation. When the deal is closed, customers will be very pleased. All right, let's wrap it up. Today, we've covered quite a bit, so let's recap the key points we discussed. First, we talked about the opening phase of negotiations. In this stage, it's crucial to elevate the perceived value of your product and make the customer feel they're getting a good deal. Start by playing the reluctant seller, showcasing the strengths of your product, implying your reluctance to sell, but also hinting at a reasonable price. This ignites the customer's desire to make a purchase. Encourage the customer to state their conditions and then quote a high price, with the assurance that the price is negotiable. This approach raises the product's perceived value. Finally, when the customer makes their first offer, decline it outright to gain an opportunity for price negotiation, making the customer feel like they are getting a deal during the bargaining process. Next, we delved into maintaining control in the mid-stage of negotiations, emphasizing the need to avoid creating confrontational emotions in the customer. When customers nitpick, use the agree before disagree indirect approach to ease their doubts. As both sides' offers get closer, guide the customer to propose a compromise price actively, making them feel superior. If a customer mentions budget constraints, effectively showcase your product's advantages and then present the price disadvantage to assess the genuineness of their budget limitations. For service-oriented products, establish pricing beforehand, explicitly state additional costs during service, and request payment immediately afterward. When customers introduce extra conditions, insist on receiving corresponding compensation to prevent them from pushing the boundaries. Lastly, we discussed closing negotiations through pressure and concession strategies to secure the customer's commitment. In the final stages of negotiation, use the good cop, bad cop strategy to apply pressure. Create a vague image of higher authority to play the bad cop, while you play the good cop. This technique helps avoid direct conflict with the customer and makes them feel the pressure. Then, employ decreasing concessions progressively, starting with significant reductions and gradually lessening the discount until it can't be reduced further, making the customer subconsciously accept that the price is already at its lowest. If a customer persists, use the method of condition exchange to make them feel like they've won in the end and conclude the negotiation positively. That concludes our summary of today's content. Congratulations on completing another book. We appreciate your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, give it a thumbs up, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom and practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you all, and goodbye.